Double game week 32 is finally here and it's time to buy those Palace and Newcastle players, but with so many fixtures coming up, is it actually a massive trap for FPL managers? We're going to talk about that in today's video alongside the best players for you to buy. So as always, if you look forward to it, make sure to drop a like and of course, hit that subscribe button for daily fantasy content. Enough waffling, let's get into today's video. So who are the top 3 Newcastle players to buy going into double game week 32? Because of course, they are one of the teams that have a double. Now, I want to say that all of these teams that we're looking to invest in all have their pros and their cons. So in terms of Newcastle, brilliant that they've got the double in game week 32. And of course, they play in blank game week 34, which is massive. But we do have some problems about them, which we will touch on. But in terms of the 3 that I think you need to invest in for Newcastle, I think it is quite clear now. I don't think it is worth going for the goalkeeper. And I think with Livramento at 4.6 million, he is offering the value to go there. I think Dan Burn is a great pick, and I think his minutes are going to be secure. But with the injuries that sometimes gets picked up with Kieran Trippier and, of course, Lewis Hall out for the rest of the season, I just don't see why Livramento is not going to play every single minute between now and the end of the season. So I think it is worth the investment. It's worth noting, don't get used to all these assists. I say all these assists, the one that he picked up in game week 31, because that is his first of the season. But I still think he has that potential for attacking returns in these upcoming fixtures. So I think Livramento is the pick of the defenders. In terms of the midfielders, Jacob Murphy still is the value pick at 5.1 million. Now, yes, slight recency bias with game week 31 and that 16-point haul, but he has been great throughout the season since he made himself a starter in this team. And at 5.1 million, I still think he is fantastic. And I've made a note here that Gordon is still out at the time of recording. So Murphy is the only midfielder that we can really go to, and I still think he'll be my choice over Anthony Gordon being 2 million cheaper. In terms of the forwards, of course, the one that we're looking at is going to be Alexander Isak. Now, at the time of recording, Eddie Howe has stated that Isak is fit and available for the double. Now, of course, with Isak's track history, would I be surprised if he picked up some sort of injury during this double game week? I wouldn't at all. But once we know that he's fit and available, if you don't own Isak, this should be a priority buy because that double I still think is good. I look at him and think he is one of those big dog players that performs in these quote-unquote bigger games. So I think Isak is going to be the most popular captain and obviously a triple captaincy pick for managers out there. So if you don't own him, I would be looking to try and get him in. So obviously, it's great to buy your Newcastle players. I think you're going to get them in for double game week 32, which is fantastic. And I think the big thing about Newcastle players is the dependency on what chips you have available. So if you don't have a free hit available, I think Newcastle suddenly become a priority for you because even though game week 33 is not ideal away against Aston Villa, everybody on their free hit is going to have Newcastle players. And if you're one of those that doesn't have a free hit available, they help you get through game week 34 with that home game against Ipswich. Other teams that we're going to talk about benefit you in the short term, but really punish you in game week 34 if you don't have that free hit. However, if you have your free hit available, you're going to have Newcastle players regardless on this free hit, but they're not really great either side of game week 34. So if you are buying fresh right now, like Murphy, like Livramento, I would argue that you're only really bringing them in for game week 32. They don't really help your cause for a game week 33 bench boost, and the fixtures after that are pretty ropey. So if you've got triple Newcastle already, happy days, keep them. But I would be looking to maybe ship them out in game week 33 with a free hit game week 34 strategy. So that's my current thought process right now. Newcastle, I think you've got to triple up on them for game week 32 because they're so highly owned. But just be cautious that I think this sell-off is going to be pretty damn quick from game week 33 onwards for those that, of course, still have their free hit available. Now, of course, the other team that double in game week 32 is going to be Crystal Palace. And this is such an interesting team from a buy perspective because there are so many pros and there are so many cons regarding them. So again, I think the 3 to go for are pretty clear now. It's going to be Munoz at 5.2 million, Eze, the midfielder, at 6.8 million, and Mateta as the forward at 7.7 million. Now, it's worth noting, in terms of the midfielders, we do have Ismaila Sarr vying out against Eze, and the underlying numbers are pretty close between the two, and you definitely can make that 1 million saving. But I discussed this in my previous videos. If you can afford Eze, you get Eze. Maybe this isn't the channel for you if you like me actually talking about football in general, but when you are buying fantasy assets and there is very little between them, always pick the baller. That is my motto on this channel, and that has come to the fruition with Eze over the last few weeks. The cream rises to the top eventually, and the guys who have that flair about them like Eze usually do eventually deliver the goods, and we've seen that over the last few weeks, and that's kind of how I play FPL at times. Unfortunately though, I couldn't afford Eze, so I landed on Sarr, but I'm pretty clear Eze is the midfielder to go for. However, we do have some problems coming up for them. So the great thing about Palace is that they double in game week 32 and they double in game week 33. That is a massive reason to buy them, and I just think you have to, by default, buy triple Palace if you don't own them already. However, of course, they then blank in game week 34, a similar situation to that of an Aston Villa, for example, which we will come and touch on. So whereas Newcastle really benefit you because they help you get through game week 34 if you don't have a free hit. If you don't have a free hit available, Palace in the short term are fantastic, but they are really going to hurt you in game week 34. The problem is, I still think you've got to get to triple Palace because just double. I know a lot of people look at these fixtures and think City away, Newcastle away, terrible, and Bournemouth and Arsenal equally are not ideal. But still, if all three of these play all four of those games, and I wouldn't be surprised, then at least you're going to get is 4 points from each. They just get 2 points for turning up and playing 60 plus minutes. Those sort of points do add up over those 2 game weeks. So Palace, I think you've got to go triple up, but just be cautious that game week 34 is going to cause you issues in that game week. Of course, if you have a free hit available, then happy days. Now comes the problems. Game week 34 is a blank, as we mentioned, but we need to remember the FA Cup semi-final, which is going to be massive for Palace. That is going to be 3 days after the Arsenal game. So I really do think that game week 32 is going to be fine. I think we might see some rotation at times, but I think these three here are going to play pretty much all those minutes in game week 32. Game week 33 is going to be a problem. Bournemouth at home, I think you'll get them for. The Arsenal away game, I think there is going to be slight risk with minutes for assets out there. I just don't see why they're going to play the big dogs for 90 minutes in that Arsenal away game when they got the FA Cup semi-final 3 days after the Arsenal match. Now, it's worth noting, Enquiries suspended for Mateta, and I just think Mateta's obviously locked in this team. The big problem, if you're buying Munoz, I really don't think you're buying them for the clean sheets. We have got Gehi suspended for the Man City match, and we have also got, and I can never pronounce it, is it Lecru? I can never pronounce it, at centre-back, a doubt for the weekend. He could also be out. So you ain't buying Munoz for the clean sheets, but you are buying them for the attack and return. So to kind of round up here, I think you have to buy Palace because they double. If you have your free hit available, it's a no-brainer because you can just play it in game week 34, and then there probably will be a bit of sell-off in game week 35 possibly. The downside, if you don't have your free hit available, I still think you got to go Palace, but you got to trade carefully. If you're also stacked up on Arsenal who blank, Aston Villa who blank, Man City who blank, I think you might have to go triple, but really be careful on who you buy. And if I had to prioritize just buying 2, I think I'll get the attackers as opposed to the defenders because these are good attacking teams. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, but Palace are still a buy. So even though Aston Villa do not double in game week 32, they are the other team that managers are scrambling to get into their teams. But I think this could be the biggest trap of the lot, and I've got to talk about why. So we are highlighting 3 Villa players to buy here, but I'm going to be honest with you, I have no idea who to buy from Aston Villa. We currently got Martinez between the sticks. I think that is a lock in terms of minutes. We've got Morgan Rogers in here because he is just Mr. Indestructible and he does seem to play every single minute. And we do have Marcus Rashford at 6.7 million, and we'll discuss that one in a minute. Now, the reason why managers are looking to buy Aston Villa players is because, of course, they play away against Southampton, which is arguably as good as a double game week. Then they double in game week 33. Not ideal, but Newcastle at home, City away, it's still a double. And then, of course, they blank in game week 34. So another thing that you have to consider if you are investing in Aston Villa players alongside Palace players is you're going to have so many players blanking in game week 34. Not a problem if you have your free hit. So the key note here is Villa have the busiest fixture schedule of all the remaining Premier League teams. And I just think that is going to cause rotation. So they had the PSG first leg last night. They're 3-1 down, so they have everything to do in the second leg. Saturday, they have got the Southampton away game. On paper, that sounds fantastic. But then Tuesday night, they have got the PSG second leg. So they have got Wednesday, Saturday, Tuesday turnaround. Now, in terms of the team that featured against PSG, it included Rashford up front. It included Morgan Rogers. It included the likes of Jacob Ramsey. So yes, Rogers played 90 minutes and everybody talks about how he's Mr. Indestructible, but they're going to need him for that second leg against PSG. So does that make him a risk in the Southampton game? I think it definitely does. Then in the double, Newcastle at home, followed by Man City away 3 days later. And then 4 days after the Man City game, they've got their FA Cup semi-final. So another huge game at Wembley for Aston Villa. Now, the problem with Aston Villa is they've got strength and depth. As I mentioned, we saw Rogers, Rashford, and of course, Jacob Ramsey play the PSG game. They could easily, in this Southampton game, play a combination of Watkins, Asensio, and Milan. And I've discussed this here as potential differentials for game week 32. With Watkins only coming on for 10 minutes or 15 minutes in that PSG game, I wouldn't be surprised at all if he starts the Southampton game and Rashford is then a bench option who then plays the second leg of the PSG game. On the flip side, we could just see Rogers play every single minute and get run into the ground similar to that of Saka over the last 5 years. What I'm trying to say is this. I have no idea who to buy from Aston Villa. You could get lucky. You could buy someone in for this game and they play the double and happy days. I think returns will come. But anybody out there who's an Aston Villa fan, let me know in the comments. Do you have an idea? The big thing about Villa is that they double in 33, and if they progress in the FA Cup and things go a certain direction, they could also double in game week 36, which is massive. But would I buy Villa with the hope of them doubling in game week 36? Probably not. I would attack what's in front of me right now, and if you are clear on who is going to play in 32 and the double in 33, I would get it done. But the fact that I'm sitting here right now and saying to you that I don't even know if Morgan Rogers plays in game week 32 should be enough of an alarm bell to know that you are taking a risk with your buys. And even if you were to buy Watkins, who are you selling in your front line to get there? For me, I think Villa are actually a complete avoid right now. And I know it's controversial with Southampton away, but I just don't think the risk is worth it this game week. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I know that's controversial, but I think this could be a car crash game week. Yes, guys, okay, so that's going to wrap up today's game week 32 buy video. As I discussed, this could be an awful game week for rotation for certain teams, but I still think you got to invest in those Newcastle and Palace teams. And then if you want to take a punt on Villa, then so be it. I personally won't be doing so. If you enjoyed the video, please do consider dropping a like and hitting that subscribe button. I'm sure there'll be questions, so please do put them in the comment section. And I'll be dropping my Game Week 32 team selection tomorrow morning, so make sure you do stick around for that. Hit that notification bell if you want to be alerted for that. Take care, have an amazing day, and I'll see you real soon. Take care. Cheers.